Hey everyone, today I want to talk about compulsive note-taking, why this is something that we see a lot, tie it into compulsive posting in different social media groups, including our own, the WhatsApp group, why it's something it's pretty important to look out for because it's so subtle and it feels like the right thing to do, and talk about the mistakes I made with really any type of compulsive tracking. It wasn't just journaling, it was all forms of compulsive tracking. So before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that like button, comment down below, let me know what you think about this video. I had to change the angle up a little bit in this video because Erica needed a tripod, and it made me realize that we need two tripods because she never really uses it. So let's just talk about probably the most common compulsive behaviors I see when it comes to some type of compulsive note-taking. So let's say, and this is really easy to miss. So let's say you're working with someone, you come in with your notepad, that's already kind of a red flag because the person wants to lean into the uncertainty of maybe I forget something. I'm not going to have it figured out all right now. What a lot of people do is they come into calls and they go, you know what? I've had OCD for 10 years and I'm going to come to 2 calls and I'm going to come to a webinar and I'm having it all figured out, right? I'm going to recover in 1 session. I have to get it all done. That needs to be slowed down. So usually chronic OCD recovery, it takes a couple years to really change your beliefs. If you have a serious harm OCD, POCD, ROCD, you've been stuck with maybe existential, and the time frame you've been stuck doesn't matter, it's not going to go in 6 months completely. Now, you could be feeling a lot better in that time frame, but you're not going to have it all cracked out on that first visit. So what happens is if you go to someone who doesn't really have a good awareness of that, and they go, oh, take out your notepads, take as many notes as you can, they're giving you the reassurance that you actually need to start starving yourself of. You want to get comfortable again with not having all the answers right away. You're not going to have it all figured out. In the webinars, I usually see this a lot. I always recommend, again, there's nothing wrong with inherently taking notes, but it is a slippery slope. If you're coming to a webinar, the best piece of advice I can give you is just listen. You don't have to type anything I hear. Or, yeah, what do you say? What'd you say? Say that one more time. It's that desperate search for certainty that you're looking for that's holding you back so much. It's the desperate search for certainty that held me back so much. So I had to get comfortable with not taking notes and just listening. Now, journaling is very similar. Now, Kirsty, who's done lots of videos on her YouTube channel from a couple years ago, has some really good videos under the acceptance playlist talking about her journey with journaling. Journey with journaling. That's a tongue twister right there. And if you go through and watch, I think Jade was the same way as well. A lot of us are. I don't really meet a lot of people that aren't very, very obsessive, which is understandable, about needing all the information right away. So you want to lean into that discomfort of not needing that. Now, other forms of compulsive tracking outside of journaling. Counting your macronutrients, tracking your programming in bodybuilding or lifting. Again, nothing inherently wrong with that, but a slippery slope. And what I noticed with myself was, if I was tracking things like that very meticulously, if I had something pop up in my life or I had to go somewhere, it was very easy for me to be like, oh my God, like I can't do that because I'm going to mess up my tracking and so forth. And that was a very, very big problem because it actually didn't let me move forward in life with that uncertainty. Because what if I got a call to go out to pizza that night? Oh no, I'm not going to go and so forth. It doesn't work out long term in the way you think it does usually. So compulsively tracking your calendar, that's with your Google, your phone, your Android, your iPhone, a written schedule. Now, I have a quite busy schedule with all the coaching I do around the world in different time zones, my own business and everything else. I have a structured schedule, but it no longer has any grip on me. Sometimes I forget to cross things out. Sometimes I show up to a meeting a few minutes late. It's part of the human condition. We're fallible, right? And when you have a busy schedule, anyone that understands this, maybe you're a single mom with 2 kids, things are going to be all over the place. But it's really important to realize that that schedule that you're holding on to so dearly, again, nothing inherently wrong with schedules. I have schedules. Might be coming from, oh, I forget this, I forget that. What if I forget this? What if I forget that? So getting comfortable with that feeling of apprehension. Apprehension is another feeling that's usually not talked about a lot. It's almost like a step before being overwhelmed in many ways. Ooh, I got this going on today. I got that going on today. Am I going to get this done? Am I going to get that done? I have to take my kids to practice. Oh, I have all this stuff for work. And then that's where it starts to, you want to slow that down and think about the worst case scenario. You forget to do a couple things, right? Maybe you forget to do a couple things a few days in a row. Now, unpopular belief. I know if you go on social media, people are like, you're a failure, you're a loser, blah, blah, blah. The people that are telling you that, these big gurus out there that are talking about how important it is to have this all locked down, if you really look between the lines, a lot of them are unhappy in many instances of their life. And I don't mean in a sense of where you always need to be happy. They're living robotic lives, robotic machine-like lives. And as Albert Ellis says, one of the most important things in our perspective of life is to have a ball. Because life is quite short. It's quite brief, as Jim Rohn talked about in many of his webinars and seminars around the world. And if you are so locked down on needing things to be a certain way, the absolute certainty in the tracking, and I see this everywhere, somatic tracking, tracking your pain, tracking everything about your relationship, tracking your compulsions, tracking apps. These are really slippery slopes. Usually, almost 99% of the time, the person actually needs the complete opposite. They want to move with that uncertainty. They want to get used to not needing to track things, going with the flow a little bit better. And because OCD is almost like very self-deceptive in many ways, you are so convinced because of the realness of it, you think in your mind, which is understandable, that it is the absolute right thing to do. But once we break down and start chipping away in coaching calls and webinar services, you start to realize just how compulsive that tracking is. Now, look, I journal, okay? I journal goals. I got goals, right? I got daily goals, scheduling. I got monthly and quarterly goals, and I have fiscal goals in my business and things I want to work on. But one of my favorite quotes, which also comes from a Jim Rohn quote, but it wasn't really from Jim Rohn. I think it was from his mentor, Earl Shoaff. It said, "Being content with what you have, whilst in pursuit of what you want." I'll say it again. You don't have to write that down. I know many of you might do that. Being content with what you have, whilst in pursuit of what you want. Goals, there's nothing inherently wrong with goals. I always watch out for stuff like this is bad, this is good, this is bad, this is good. Absolute black and whites. Now, there are definitely some things that categorize in the black and whites. Ready? Reassurance for OCD sufferers is bad. Compulsions and avoidance behaviors are bad. But most things in life, the majority of things are very much open to interpretation. Going over my words today a little bit. And realizing that it's not as simple as that, right? It's not as superficial as we make it out to be. You know, goals are inherently bad. You get a lot of these gurus too, right? Goals and journaling, it's all about work. Get it done. Do it now. You don't need anything. No morning routines. Just start working when you open your eyes. That's probably not a great way to live your life. And if you're living your life like that and you enjoy it, go right ahead. But we usually see a lot of compulsive nature with that. And when things don't go their way, they usually freak out. They totally melt. And I'm not talking just OCD sufferers. I'm talking lots of non-OCD, very, very prominent speakers. And you know this because when you watch keynote speeches of people and they're screaming at you at the top of their lungs, there's something going on. You usually don't see a lot of rational people screaming. Every once in a while, again, being humans, but the more rational you become, the less angry you usually become too. You don't have to get your message to point in a dictator type fashion. So again, nothing inherently wrong with journaling, but try it a little bit. You show up to the calls without needing to journal. Show up to the webinars and just listen. Give some input if you want. Ask questions. We always love that. But you got to watch out when you're seeing someone and they're recommending you always journal. They recommend you track everything. I don't see a lot of good results with that. Like I said, anecdotally, from my experience of working with hundreds and hundreds of sufferers and all different types of platforms and translator calls, is a lot of them need the uncertainty of not tracking. And usually the response that they give me with, apprehension and negative feedback is a good sign on something they probably want to try and work on. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm a little bit different of my just facing the side of my house. But it is important to really look at that, getting comfortable with not needing that right now. And I think that's really, really key. So think about it. Think about the compulsive nature of journaling that you might be doing, and other tracking forms, the macros, the programming, the pain tracking, the scheduling tracking, the symptom tracking, and all that stuff. But that's not really what life is all about to me. It's about more uncertainty and flowing with it. So thank you so much for watching this video. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And again, if you're interested in our coaching and webinar services, please email us at info@ocdrecovery.com, and we'll get back to you in a timely fashion. Thank you so much, everyone.